Alright, my name is Jarrod Hanks, and we're coming to you from Claremont, Florida. Shanks Golf here. Tonight we're going to be looking at some of the professionals' golf swings. We're going to look at Rory McIlroy, Dustin Johnson, and Tiger Woods. And what we're looking for are certain things that they do or don't do in their golf swing. And then kind of compare it to positions of the Shanks golf technique and show you that essentially they are going through the same positions as we do. They're just adding a whole lot more variables. So let's get started, and let's hope this goes well today. But why did it just do that again? Oh no. There we go. Alright. Wish I could make that a little bit bigger, but hey, we'll go with that. Oh, we were going to do this too. There we go. Alright, so you can hear me. And what are we going to talk about? Alright, let's back this up just a little bit. This is Rory McIlroy. Beautiful golf swing. Let's watch it one time first. All the way through. Like A, B, C, super slow motion. Alright. Lateral movement. Do you see any? I do not see lateral movement. You see that left knee bending in a little bit? Right? Right there. I see that left knee bending in a little bit. But for the most part, there really isn't lateral movement. Okay? At this point in the game here, he has about 85 degrees. Can I get rid of that? Oh man. 85 degrees, 90 degrees. It's about a 90 degree hinge in his wrist and halfway up. Okay. Going. Noticing a few things. Okay, top of his backswing. Let's see that wrist hinge again. Wrist hinge is only about 90 degrees right here, ish, right? A 90 degree wrist hinge. I would have to guess that here, this hip has not moved much from the beginning of the golf swing to the end of the backswing. Alright, I don't know if you can, yeah, you can hear me. Alright, so let's go back a little bit. Okay, back to setup. Okay, let's draw this line too. Right? We got here. Oops. Get rid of that old guy that we just did. Okay, so press play. It's kind of like his setup right there. Wide stance because he's hitting a driver. Right, I do see one thing interesting that I want to comment on shortly, but you can also look at this little thing right here where his head is. Not a whole lot of head movement. right? So right now we'll just kind of be focused on the swing from the front view. There's that 90 degrees. A little bit more wrist hinge right now. Left arm going across the body right now. Okay, getting behind him a little bit, right? Let's pause that again right there. All right, look where he is. So his right hip has actually moved towards the target. Left hip is right where it was before. Maybe he's sitting down a little bit towards the target. Right? So this is, Shanks 101 is load that lead foot. Right? If you can load that lead foot, then the earlier you can have resistance. Oops. We'll get rid of that too. Alright, so here we go, coming down now. Alright, here's first move. If you see that hip is moving towards the target right now. This hip is moving towards the target. Everything's moving towards the target. And this wrist hinge is now, instead of 90, it's 120. How do we do that? I guess we have to do it this way, right? To get to the 120 maybe? To get to the right number? Nope. Oh, we want to do this then. So about 120, 120 degrees? I guess this is a better one to look at right here, this 60 degrees. Okay, but what we're concerned with whenever you're talking Shanks technique, is how many degrees your club has to travel to get back to the hitting position. Alright, so 120 degree angle, that's your club head speed right there. That's your potential club head speed. Alright, watch a little bit more. Okay, actually right here, now, trying to think where the shoulders are. Okay, imagine this, let's go back just a little hair. Imagine this right here is the Shanks Backswing. Okay, your weight is on your lead foot, right here. Oops. Alright. There you go. So weight is on your lead foot, and at about this point of the downswing, if I back up a little bit, coming to the top, this weight shift, lateral shift, move towards the target. Okay, while his hips are moving, his hands drop. Okay. Hands dropping allows him to stay on plane. I go back just a little bit. You see that arm right there? And drops the club into the slot, they say, right? But he's not really developing any club head speed right here. He's shallowing the club and dropping his hands until he has enough resistance on his lead foot to start releasing the club and accelerating the club. Alright, so this is essentially the position at the end of the Shanks method golf technique. So we only get to here, but because our weight's already on our lead foot, then when we get to the top of our backswing, we can immediately start releasing the club. See where he is right now. Okay, so he's released the club from 55 to 114, 120, 114, 55. So that's what, 15 plus 55, 35, about 50 degrees of release now. Okay, here's that all yummy. My hips have cleared out of the way now. Hips had to clear out of the way because your arms were up here and then they drop down to here. So your hips have to clear out of the way in order to make room for your hands. Oops. To have a place to swing through. Right? So Rory still, wow. He is still, where is he? Got a lot more to go to release the club. Okay, and then impact here. Let's see. See if we can figure this out.
Are you having a live right now? Okay, because they're here.
Okay.
How long are you gonna be?
Hang on a little while. That's almost, it's not really a straight line. It's about, oh, let's get rid of that. Okay, there we go. So let's look at that angle at impact. That angle, oops, I didn't do angle there. Okay, this is what I'm looking at right here. Okay, this, oops, go 1/8. Oops, come back a little bit. Right there. So 170 degrees. That's a full release for Rory McIlroy at impact is 170 degrees. He's still got that little forward lean. What does he look like at setup? At setup, he was what?
They're gonna eat the food that they brought at the table up there while they finish the movie. They kind of watch movie themselves in a while, so
They can come in here.
In here, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But they'll probably visit a little first. They'll finish up when you're done, and then like visit a little after a while.
So at setup, he's at 179 degrees. At impact, he got to 170. Okay, that's his impact position. So that's what we're trying to do on the Shanks, is we're trying to get to that nearly full release at impact every time. And the technique that we're using with Shanks kind of allows us to do that. Okay, it really does not take that long. If you watch Rory right here, I'd say about right here, he's starting, that's like his maximum wrist hinge. Okay, so remember the amount of time that it takes for him to release the club from here to there has to match the same amount of time it takes for his arms to travel that little distance right there, which is like 3 feet. So his arms go 3 feet, boom, and his club head goes about 7 feet, maybe a little bit more than that. So those two times have to be in sync for you to hit the ball straight, for the club face to come through like you want it to, like you've set up for the club face to come through an impact zone. Problem with conventional golf is that sometimes if you do a lateral shift, you also have to time, this is another one you have to time. You have to time however long it takes to get to your left side so you can push against the ground. Now, so my arms were dropping at the same time my hips were, or my weight was shifting to the left. Okay, now if my arms are in the perfect position so that now however hard I chose to hit the ball, unhinging, okay, matches the arm speed, that's great. But what if we start messing with, oh, I'm going to load more on my right side. If you load more on your right side and you do the same swing, then you might not have the resistance you need to start releasing the club until your arms are about 10 or 15 degrees too low. Okay, so now you've already decided how hard you're going to hit the ball. So you go ahead and hit the ball that hard, you release that fast, but now everything's like a little bit later. Your timing is completely off. Now the time that it takes to release the club to perfect position as it relates to the arms getting back to the perfect impact position, that's changed a little bit. So there's variations in how much release of the club you get. That's where if you can't catch up, then you leave the club face open. Or if you feel that you're behind, you'll kind of roll your hand, snap the club through, and then hit a snap hook. Alright, so let's remember those positions right here. Or let's look at one more thing with Rory's, and then we'll call it a night. Maybe we'll do one per night. Something we're talking about is let's go shaft angle. So a la Ben Hogan, you need to see this imaginary plane of glass, or this imaginary plane. We'll do that one in light blue. So let's see where Rory's angles are. Alright, so he goes back. Alright, now, if we were Shanks Golf Technique Factory, for Shanks Golf Technique. Oop, that one didn't work. There we go. That is nearly staying on perfect plane. Okay? But conventional golf will have you, okay. And also, your hands are still out in front of you, which I think Tiger Woods will say that a lot. He likes to keep the club, his hands out in front of him. He feels like he has a lot more control. At this point, if he wants to stay on plane, his arms actually have to go across his body. Okay? But now it's kind of confusing because there's a discrepancy with his arm angle. I guess what you can do is you look at the club face, right? And that'll give you, so he's still on plane, but now it has to do with, is the club face open or closed when I get that high? Okay, so some people, depending on what they do with their wrist, if they cup their wrists or if they bow their wrist, like Dustin Johnson, you'll either have an open or closed club face or a laid off club at the top, or you'll go across the line. This one, I think, oops. I think he goes across the line a little bit there, right? He's not past horizontal. That's really good right there. Alright, so if we go back to shoulders through the ball, which is the line you're supposed to do. Alright, so if we back up a little bit and we are loaded on our left side, Shanks Golf Technique right here, we can push against the ground. We have enough weight on the ground on our left foot that we can resist and create torque and start releasing the club. I guess something that's different here in Shanks is, I don't have my swing on here, but by this point in the backswing, I've reached maximum wrist hinge. So that's a lot different than conventional golf because he hasn't reached optimal wrist hinge right now. He's still only at like 90, is what, 90 degrees ish. 72. So he's got another 20 degrees to go before he's fully cocked there. Let's come back to swing plane. Looks good. But then you have to make all these adjustments now. If I fire my hips first, Rory's firing his hips first. If he does not drop his hands into the slot, they say, while he's shifting his weight back, okay, he does this perfect, near perfect, right? Dude is near perfect. That's why he's practically number one in the world. All right, so he's shifting his weights he's shifting back to his left side right now so that he can release the club with his hands. Okay, so in the meantime, he's got to drop his hands. He's got to find the swing path again, and then he's got to time exactly when his weight gets back on his left side and release the club and hope that it's timed up with how fast his arms are going. Okay, near impossible to do over and over and over again. Okay, and then the last thing I'll say right now is this right there right there. Lower back. Your hips are going in one direction. The club's going in another direction. The hands are pulling up probably at this point. There's all kinds of unnecessary forces acting. And then the reason I pointed at your side and your lower back right there is that does not look like a natural position that is comfortable. Right? Looks painful, especially as you get into your... Actually, if you swing like Bryson DeChambeau, my goodness. I probably couldn't walk the next day. Right? And there's that. So he reaches... I mean, that's the thing, man. That's why he's got so much power, is he releases the club nearly all the way to straight to completely release by the time he makes impact with the ball. Anyway, so that's how Rory McIlroy's swing stacks up to the Shanks golf technique. So watch that again and just enjoy this swing. Swing of beauty, but boy, it takes some practice to have the timing to complete this algorithm. I mean, think about it. We change how hard we hit the ball every time. So the speed at which we unhinge changes every time. The speed at which we fire our hips changes every time with conventional golf, because that, in conventional golf, seems to dictate how much club head speed we can generate. It's the firing mechanism as your hips, your hips, your hips. And we propose that you have resistance at this point right here of your backswing, fully wrist cocked, so that you can use the torque, the resistance against the ground, to accelerate the golf club. It looks a little unconventional. There's not a lot of lateral movement to the right and then back to the left. So as we finish a Shanks swing, we don't end up with all our weight on the front foot. We actually we're in place, coiling, spinning. So if you imagine maybe a hammer thrower, how they're leaning back as they release their sling or whatever you call it. Anywho, not saying this is not beautiful, but it's overcomplicated. It's a very, very difficult algorithm to swing a golf club, and when you start messing with several of the variables, it makes it nearly impossible to do efficiently, consistently, effectively, and happily. All right, so that's it from here. That's Rory McIlroy, and hope you guys enjoyed that. We'll do another one tomorrow night. And maybe Tiger Woods, maybe Dustin Johnson. All right, hope y'all come back.